Good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race day. It, I guess, was inevitable. I'm a little surprised that he did it as early as he did, but I think it was the right thing to do. And I happened to see this meme today, which I thought was pretty funny. Say the line, Ron, I'm dropping out and endorsing Donald Trump, and everybody screams. Again, it was inevitable. Not a huge surprise. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with his future in politics, because I think a lot of people are probably relieved at the fact that he's endorsing Trump, especially the Trump supporters are obviously dropping out and endorsing Donald Trump, and everybody screams. But how's Twitter feedback? I don't understand Twitter. I'm still trying to figure out the live stream on Twitter. It is you literally can't start early. Everywhere else you can start early, but you can't start early on Twitter. They need to fix that. Anyway, so I'm gonna keep it short tonight. To just really a couple of stories that I'm gonna get into, unless we have a bunch of people that hop on and have questions and comments and things like that. But number one deal is Ron DeSantis drops out of the campaign and endorses Donald Trump. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
From Florida, the warmth of being home is a reminder why I've chosen public service. From joining the United States Navy and serving in Iraq, to representing the people in the U.S. Congress, and now serving as governor of Florida. And it reminds me why I decided to run for president, to fight for those who have been forgotten in this country. This is America's time for choosing. We can choose to allow a border invasion, or we can choose to stop it. We can choose reckless borrowing and spending, or we can choose to limit government and lower inflation. We can choose political indoctrination, or we can choose classical education. These choices are symptoms of the underlying struggle to ensure that constitutional government can endure and that Western civilization can survive. And we launched this campaign to bring accountability to government, regain sovereignty at our border, and restore sanity to our society. We cannot succeed as a country if we allow our nation to be invaded, our currency to be debased, our cities to crumble, and our kids to be indoctrinated. The DC elites who facilitated this mess do not care about you, and they do not work for you. They work for themselves. They seek to accumulate power at your expense to pursue an agenda that is harmful to the American people. Citizens do not serve politicians. It is the duty of politicians to serve you. Talk is cheap. Actions speak louder than words. Reversing the decline of this nation requires leadership that delivers big results for the people we are elected to serve. I have a record of leading with conviction, championing an agenda marked by bold colors, delivering on my promises, and defeating the people who are responsible for our nation's decline. That is the type of leadership we need for all of America. Now, over the past many months, Casey and I have traveled across the country to deliver a message of hope that decline is a choice and that we can, in fact, succeed again as a nation. Nobody worked harder, and we left it all out on the field. Now, following our second place finish in Iowa, we've prayed and deliberated on the way forward. If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents. The days of putting Americans last, of kowtowing to large corporations, of caving to woke ideology are over. I thank all of our passionate supporters who have stood by us through it all. That we had people volunteer to come to Iowa in the middle of a blizzard to knock on doors and make phone calls touched us dearly. No candidate had more thrown at him, but no candidate had so many committed volunteers and staff. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Casey, and our kids, Madison, Mason, and Mamie. Casey's gone far above and beyond in her support for our campaign and for our cause. She's not only a great wife and mother, she's a great American who cares deeply about the future of the country that our kids will inherit. Our kids have seen and done a lot on the trail, from playing on the famed Field of Dreams baseball site in Iowa to making their first snowman in New Hampshire. They are one of the reasons we fight so hard for what we believe in. Winston Churchill once remarked that success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. While this campaign has ended, the mission continues. Down here in Florida, we will continue to show the country how to lead. Thank you, and God bless.
So to me, after watching that video, it seems to me that he's very relaxed and happy. You're watching him through the entire campaign. It's almost like he's relieved that it's over. And, you know, I could understand why he would be relieved, especially with, you know, what was going on and how much, you know, he was taking quite a bit of abuse, but, you know, not to crap all over him even more than he already has been, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that he actually ran for president, considering the fact that he, you know, ran to be the governor of Florida, had Donald Trump as endorsed him. He was running commercials saying "Build the Wall" and "Make America Great Again," really, you know, using Donald Trump's name and likeness and all that stuff in his advertising campaigns to be the governor of Florida, and then turns around and stabs Trump in the back and goes and runs. Now, it's different from Nikki Haley, because Nikki Haley said that I would not run. If you run for president, I'm not going to run. And so what Nikki Haley did was much worse, in my opinion, than what DeSantis did, but it's not far off. And I think the number is, you know, $100 to $200 million in campaign funds that were spent. What's up, Kazan? And that's a hell of a lot of money to spend, that, you know, for a failed campaign. And again, I just don't understand. I mean, I can speculate that there were people who said, we think that you can run and beat Trump. I think that's what it was. I think there were people who legitimately believed that. And I think there are people that, you know, back when Jeb Bush was running against Trump, that actually thought that Jeb Bush could win. But I just think that a lot of these people are really out of touch with just regular people and regular voters, and really don't understand what's going on. But that kind of money, I mean, think about that, how $100 million, $200 million that were spent, or that was spent on that campaign. That's really an insane amount of money. That money could have been used for something else. And to think that after getting, and all DeSantis had to do was wait. It wasn't like Trump was going to have a two-term presidency. He had to wait for 4 years. DeSantis is young enough. He's at the perfect age, actually. And he could have waited it out and then had Trump endorse him for the presidency. But now I don't think he can recover from this. Yeah, I'm not too surprised that he endorsed Trump. I think he probably, I'm guessing maybe he was hoping he didn't have to, but I think the writing is on the wall to everybody now, and you're starting to see it in the left-wing media where they're seeing the inevitability that Trump is going to win. And in fact, there's always something that I remember that I had looked at on Twitter, and then I don't know whether I bookmarked it or not, but it says Anna, I think it's Anna Navarro. I think the one that was on The View, or may still be on The View, said something to the effect of doing everything they possibly could to make sure that Donald Trump does not become president. And I replied, well, that sounds like an insurrection to me. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. This is it. Ana Navarro Cardenas. She's a real prize. I'm proud to have been one of the millions of women who marched against Trump. Get ready, get energized. Looks like we got to do it all over again. This time we'll march to the polls this November to make sure he never has another inauguration, ever. And I just flippantly said, sounds like an insurrection. But the point I guess I'm trying to make here is that I think the left-wing media believes that it is inevitable that Donald Trump's going to win, and that somehow they have to deal with it. And so the point I'm trying to make is somebody like DeSantis is saying, you know what, I've got to be on the side of the person that's going to win. I mean, it's not going to be Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley's got a bump because she's the donor darling right now. But I don't see her at all getting even close to Donald Trump. So there you have it. That's some big news in the running for president, and it made me remember this Hillary Clinton thing. She still has not taken this down. This is the arrogance, and I think there was a Newsweek cover. I was watching Alex Jones, and he had a copy of it that was congratulating her, saying, "Congratulations, Madam President." This is how arrogant these people were, thinking that they had won in 2016, and they were so devastated by the loss that she never even came out to address her supporters. She, to my knowledge, never came out and admitted that she had lost. But she certainly did everything she could, from Trump's win all the way on, to say that it was Russian collusion. And so here you are, is still not taking it down. Happy birthday to this future president. The arrogance is unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. And the other thing too now is the Trump derangement syndrome is really on fire. And again, because I do believe that even the press, the left-wing press, realizes it's inevitable that Donald Trump's going to win. And so there's a montage of just psychotic rhetoric from left-wing media, from MSNBC to I'll just play it for you, but it's nuts.
Graybian, the multimedia marketplace. What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
Well, he cannot be the next president. Because if he is...
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence.
Hold on, let me log in. So you don't have to listen to the...
What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
Well, he cannot be the next president. Because if he is...
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make him...
So throw opponents in jail and shut down the media. So isn't that what Biden's doing already? Biden is trying to throw everybody in jail that was even walking around Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And look at all the lawfare that they're going through with Donald Trump now.
Himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
He's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
He will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini.
Makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
Wants to take away your vote.
Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
People will begin in their minds to censor themselves. They might say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this.
This is the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated in the administration.
If he's reelected, he will curb transgender rights.
The end of the rule of law.
Arrest political opponents.
To persecute, not prosecute, but persecute his enemies.
Which is what's going on right now. It's amazing the projection that's used by the left. They're telling this is how dumb they think their viewers are. And I guess that they are because they buy into this shit. They literally are telling you what Biden's administration, the people that are pulling the strings in the Biden administration, they're literally telling you what this is what Trump's going to do, and they're doing it right now to people.
Take a wrecking ball to the rule of law.
He's going to make the law. Everyone else will have to follow.
A vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in.
To go after the independent and free parts of American civic life.
He would tear down our institutions, purge the government of employees.
Department by department effort to weaponize the powers of the government.
To use the military to quash protests.
Ridding the government of all democratic safeguards.
Junking American democracy as we have always known it.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question.
Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
And what that means is that everybody who wants us to remain a republic has to put every other thing aside and work together urgently right now to stop that from happening.
So, great montage put together by Grabian. And once again, like I said, this is projection. That they're telling you that Donald Trump, this is what Donald Trump's going to do, but yet they're the ones who are actually doing it right now. Yeah, it hasn't. It's hard to figure out who knows they're a CIA puppet. Yeah. And it's amazing how even in, I think it was the 80s, I think there was a guy, I can't remember who it was, who was interviewed, was an ex-CIA guy, and he spilled the beans on how they would literally submit stories to news agencies and companies to read in order to, I mean, some of the stuff would be true and some of the stuff would be false. So the journalists really didn't know what they were getting. And I mean, in the DOJ, I mean, we have a criminal that's running it right now. He was supposed to be nonpartisan, Merrick Garland, but he's obviously partisan. But you look at Rachel Maddow is a really good actor, and you could see in that last clip how she puts that act on like Justin Trudeau does. Mike Pence kind of has that same sort of act, that like, I really care about you, but meanwhile I despise every one of you that is watching me right now because I think you're all cockroaches, when she's the actual cockroach. But I love it how after the Iowa caucus they were crying. I think I played this last night.
And the big picture takeaway from that, and I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is not, if we are worried about the rise of authoritarianism in this country, we are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country, if we're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially...
It's already happened, Biden. So, again, their strategy is to project, to make you think that it's Trump when it's them. They're the ones that are doing it.
...fascist form of government. The leader who is trying to do that is part of that equation. Mm-hmm. But people wanting that is a much bigger part of that equation. Right. And the American electorate is made up of two major parties. One of those parties has been flirting with extremism on the ultra-right for a very long time. They've brought them in a way that they haven't been central to Republican electoral politics ever before, and I know because I've been studying this. But once you have radicalized one major party so that those are the preferences of the people who adhere to your party, the leader is interchangeable. And yes, Trumpism is sometimes what we call it. MAGA movement is probably a better way to do it. But there is an authoritarian movement inside Republican politics that isn't being bamboozled by Trump. They are pushing Trump to get more and more extreme, because the more extreme things he says, the more they adhere to him. And that is coming from a very large proportion of the American right that adheres to the Republican Party. And that's why this is a Republican Party problem more than it is the problem of one man and his leader.
Doesn't that tie together the...
So again, these are people that would have no problem throwing you in jail for using your First Amendment rights, but they're going to sit there and tell you that Donald Trump is the problem. And we've already had him as a president. What happened? He stepped down reluctantly, but these people just continue to use the same strategy over and over again, say the same thing again and again, and continue to lie again and again. Here's another example of how, again, they tell you that Trump is going to shut down the media, but look how they silence Donald Trump. You know, they're telling you that he's a dictator, all this stuff, and look.
And I don't mean to be, again, too dark, as you said, on this, but it is.
Bear with me. I can get the right link here.
At this point in the evening, the projected winner of the Iowa caucuses has just started giving his victory speech. We will keep an eye on that as it happens. We will let you know if there's any news made in that speech, if there's anything noteworthy, something substantive and important. The reason I'm saying this is, of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. That is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are. And so his remarks tonight will not air here live. We will monitor them and let you know about any news that he makes.
Can you believe this shit? This is insane. This is insane. And if Donald Trump does get elected and says I'm going to take away their license to broadcast, I would have no problem with that. So yeah, I guess if you're saying that Donald Trump supporters are more encouraging for him to do certain, yeah, if this is what you're gonna do, you're not gonna air his remarks. You're gonna silence him. You're gonna not allow me, not that I watch this garbage and watch this lying whore, but I'm not gonna be able to see what it is that the person I'm voting for is going to say. Thank God for alternative media. Thank God for Rumble. Screw YouTube. Thank God for Odyssey and BitChute and all these other places. Because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be able to listen to him speak. The Nazis, authoritarians, the actual fascists. Fascism is companies working with government. This is what they do. I mean, Kazan just described it. You had the Twitter 1.0 working with the FBI to silence dissenters. The FBI would call this the federal government calling Facebook and saying, "Don't run the laptop story with Hunter Biden." And you know that the CIA has always been working with news outlets. So that's what these people are. They're puppets. These are fascists because they're being told to do this. They're being told, okay, look, we can't have Donald Trump as president. This is coming within our federal government. We can't have him as president. So what you need to do is if he wins Iowa, you cannot play any of his speeches on air. They're absolutely doing it with Google. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I can tell you right now, I would get thousands of views on YouTube videos, and all of a sudden now I'm getting hundreds. I'm not getting shadow banned, and I know I'm not the only one. And I was saying last night, how many people are just giving up, even though those aren't in politics. And I think some of it's good because I think some people now are starting to say, you know what, I'm going to go to alternative media. I'm going to start making money through donations because I make zero money on this. I back when the trucker protests were going on, made some off of YouTube revenue, but I make absolutely nothing. The only reason I'm doing this is because I feel that I need to let people know this is the news that I read that I certainly don't see in the mainstream media and legacy media. And I know there's others out there that put this stuff out there, but at least put my kind of spin or perspective on it that might be different from somebody else's, or I might pick up something that somebody else may not have seen. The one of which I'm preaching to no one right now, but except for Kazan, I appreciate you being here, is, and hopefully people that watch the replays after this, which is what most people do is they watch the replays afterwards. But the Nikki Haley story about the affairs with bloggers. I've been talking about this for 5 years. And Roger Stone was on Alex Jones this evening for the Sunday Night Live saying the new revelation of the affairs that Nikki Haley allegedly had. I've been talking about this forever. I mean, these articles are from back in 2015. So again, I'm here doing this stuff not only because I enjoy it, and I obsessively read the news, and I try to find things that I know that I'm not going to see on the mainstream media. And the sad thing is that there's just very few of us out there, and so many people buy into Rachel Maddow's bullshit and her lies, and what makes it unbelievable to me is what a scumbag that she is, that she could sit there and knowingly lie to her audience and collect the kind of money. She makes like $30,000 an episode. So you can knowingly lie like she does and then go to sleep at night and it doesn't even bother her. And wake up the next day and do the same thing. Just flat out lie to people. I mean, she's one of the worst human beings on the planet. And I think they used her because she's a lesbian, thinking, well, because she's a woman and she's a lesbian, somehow everybody's going to think she's immoral. Which goes to show you, just because you're a lesbian doesn't make you moral. I mean, there's countless things that she's lied about.
The bottom line of this dossier, the bottom line allegation, the point of it is that the Trump campaign didn't just benefit from Russia interfering in our presidential campaign. The point of this is they colluded, they helped, they were in on it. This is kind of a real story. The connections between the Trump servers and the Alpha Bank servers were real. They were covert communications that someone was trying to hide, that the Trump Organization and Alpha Bank appear to have been trying to hide. Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else. It cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. We and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. And that is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are.
So there's even more things. And she puts that act on. She's an actor. You're stuck her. I write best journalist ever. Some people actually thought I was being serious. Others had to correct them, tell them I was being sarcastic. But look at all these things that she's lied about. I like this guy Mays. He's amazing. So she sits here and tells you that Donald Trump is a liar, and so because he's a liar, they can't play his speech after the Iowa caucus. But she's lied about the Russia collusion. She's lied about the Alpha Bank deal. She's lied about the vaccine. Flat out lied about it. That people play that vaccine one all the time because it's so blatantly a lie. And remember, she was one of those that would lie to you about ivermectin. So bad that there are people very close to me where I would say, have you heard about ivermectin? In the medical field, by the way. And they would ask me, oh, you mean the horse paste? Because this is what they were being told on news media. And these are people who were in the medical field. And I talked about this last night. There were billions of doses of ivermectin given to human beings for parasites. The inventor of the medicine won the Nobel Prize. Billions. No one, and there was one person. There was study after study after study, a culmination of studies that showed that there was only one person that overdosed on ivermectin, and it was an anomaly. It was an outlier. But ivermectin is a very safe medicine and has been used billions of times. And here's Rachel Maddow lying to you again. And I don't know if any of you remember this story, but Rolling Stone magazine wrote this bullshit story that she talked about how Oklahoma hospitals were overloaded with gunshot victims because people were overdosing on ivermectin, which was a lie. This is Rolling Stone. Gunshot victims left waiting as they kept saying. Remember, they kept saying horse dewormer. It was actually used as a veterinary a medicine for veterinary purposes, but was also primarily for human use, for parasites. But she took this article and ran with it as if it was true. Here's another lie from MSNBC from Joe Scarborough. This is still continuing to be told, this lie, that 4 policemen died on January 6th. They keep telling you the deadly riot or the deadly attacks on January 6th. They keep saying that, the deadly. The only person, I think there was one other woman who was beaten by police and died, and but the primary one who was shot by police in the neck. Of course, I can't remember her name now, but there was one woman who was a protester that got shot by a Capitol police officer. But here, Joe Scarborough is telling you 4 policemen died on January 6th. It's not true. Here he is. 4 cops are dead because of Trump riots. Ask the widows and children if Trump was a law and order president. He said this on January 20th, 2024. Let me make sure that that's right, because that'd be unbelievable if he actually said that. Yeah. That's remarkable that he would actually say that. Today. Or this soon. Yesterday. Okay, here, Boylan was the other one. Roseanne Boylan, I remember that name now. She was a young lady with a special talent. She was a recovering addict who worked as a drug counselor. For 7 years, she attended meetings in her local community and did what she could to help others with the same issues and addictions. She was also a Trump supporter. Boylan found herself caught between the crowd outside the Capitol and Capitol Police when the madness began. Trump supporters were on a set of steps outside the Capitol when Capitol Police began pushing the crowd on top of innocent Americans on the steps. Ashley Babbitt was the other one that was shot, by the way. Finally remembering her name. Boylan and a crowd of Trump supporters were pushed by police down the steps under a ceiling high, bone-crushing, and deadly pile that cops doused with opulent amounts of pepper spray and tear gas. The police would not allow anyone to help the individuals being crushed, and he attacked anyone who tried to help. After about 10 long minutes, the protesters were able to work themselves out of the pile and save each other. Boylan lay motionless on the steps after the pile finally cleared. People were unable to get near her to help, and it was then that she was seen being beaten brutally by police officer Lila Morris with a stick multiple times. Morris beat Boylan so hard and so many times that she lost her stick. So this woman and Ashley Babbitt were killed. The police had all died of natural causes or suicide. But Joe Scarborough, who's going to sit there and tell you that Trump is a liar, along with his colleague, other colleagues, Rachel Maddow and the like, I mean, Trump hasn't even been elected yet, and they're already starting this. I can't even imagine how bad it's going to be. I really can't. Is the Trump supporter from PA in that article the one guy who died at some point on January 6th, but people can't agree on when, where, or how? I don't remember seeing that. I don't think it's mentioned in this article. Okay, so the Officer Lila Morris, as of the date of this writing, still walks the halls of Congress a hero. Same with the cop that shot Ashley Babbitt. Now, just think about reversing the roles on this whole thing. If it was completely different, you'd never hear the end of it. But they buried all of this stuff because they had a narrative to put together. If you don't think we're living in Nazi Germany right now, I don't know. You can't be helped. And this is what's scary, is that there's so many people believing what Rachel Maddow says and Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough's wife, Mira Brzezinski, I'm going to go into that in a different video, but her father is connected, I think, into the Club of Rome or some aspect of, weird shit. But I do want to move on to one more story and then call it a night. I was a Division I tennis player, and obviously tennis is really important to me. I still watch tennis. I'm bummed out that Roger Federer, obviously is retired, and love the Federer, Nadal, Djokovic kind of rivalry that was going on, and now it's kind of, it's definitely over now. Djokovic is still left playing and playing unbelievable tennis, hands down, without a doubt. It's not even in dispute at this point, based on the number of wins and Grand Slams and everything, the best tennis player to ever live. Well, one of the things was what happened to him during the COVID lockdowns, when he had actually gone to Australia to play in the Australian Open in 2022, got there and then was kicked out of Australia because he was one of the few athletes, period, not just tennis players, but athletes, period, that refused to get vaccinated. And he, in all likelihood would have won the Australian Open, is my guess. Because I think he had a pretty easy path. had a couple of opportunities lost at the U.S. Open as well. So he would have, yeah, and he won it in 2023. So he couldn't play it in 2022, won in 2023. Obviously, he's playing currently in 2024. So he'd have even more Grand Slam wins if it wasn't for the scumbags that locked down everything, including, I mean, Australia was one of the worst. But I was watching, actually, I didn't see this particular match, but I have been watching the Australian Open, even though I've really said that I didn't want to watch any of this shit because I don't want to support a sports event that promoted these lockdowns. But here,
points,
please. Novak Djokovic is in Australia playing in a match, and some asshole in the crowd yells, "Get vaccinated." Watch this.
4 match points.
Please. Play that again.
4 match points.
Please. He yells, "Get vaccinated, mate." I mean, it's 2024, and you are yelling that out to somebody like Djokovic, who proved everybody wrong. So this guy yells this out. I mean, this is why I really don't have a whole lot of hope, is because the vast majority of humans on this planet are this guy yelling in the crowd. Dumber than balls. At least these people are booing. Some of them are. I would have physically removed them from the crowd. But watch what happens next. Ends the match right there with an ace. I mean, and what's funny, that is a representation of what Djokovic just did. That by serving an ace and winning the match right after that jerk off, yells, "Get vaccinated, mate." Right after that, just goes to show you how people on our side who have fought against it and didn't do it were right. And if you decided to get it, that was your choice to do so. But that guy that was yelling in the crowd is one of those people who would have, if they were like the head of HR of whatever company they work for, would have fired that person, fired their staff if they didn't get vaccinated. That's that guy. And just like everything else, just like I just showed you Hillary Clinton's post that she was going to be president. No, wrong. Steele dossier, wrong. Russian collusion, wrong. Kyle Rittenhouse, wrong. I mean, there's just lists and lists and lists of things that these dumbasses get wrong. And this is one of those things. And they get proven wrong every single time and get embarrassed, but they still come back. This is like one of those things where, like when you're in grade school and you get attacked by somebody verbally, and you make them look like an idiot, but they have no concept. It just goes right over their heads. They're so dumb that they keep coming back at you. They just keep annoying you and annoying you and annoying you. That's what the left is. That's what these communists are. They never get the hint that they're dumb. They never get the hint that they're wrong. And they just keep on coming. Yeah. Nothing about Djokovic having any heart attacks or strokes. But yet, isn't it funny every single time you open up your web browser and you read the news, there's somebody else that looks like they were perfectly healthy that had a heart attack? And I'm convinced too that even those that had COVID, I had COVID, that that the virus itself was designed to hurt people. I really believe that. But, you know, with vaccine after vaccine after vaccine, well, Rachel Maddow told you it just ends that's it. You won't get it anymore. Okay, Rachel. Okay. We cannot deny the fact that when you open up another news article and you see another person that, you know, there's this term that people use now. It's called died suddenly. You gonna sit there and tell me that there isn't something that's going on, that there isn't a correlation? But meanwhile, they have an excuse for why this is happening. Global warming. Or eating too many eggs, or I mean, whatever the stupid ass excuse is. It's never the shot. It's never that. It's always something else. Big Fish, this guy here, just below. If their vaccination works, why would they care? Mental illness on full display. That's what that guy in the crowd is mentally ill. And unfortunately, we all have to deal with, we have to walk around in public with people that are mentally ill, like this guy in the crowd. Canada COVID vaccine serious adverse events continue to climb in 2024. But when you see these comments, it is a bit more encouraging. Because the vast majority of people in the comments, especially on Twitter, and this is why the left can't stand Twitter. It's full of hate and racism. No, it's full of truth. Can't get truth through MSNBC. They lie straight to your face. Now here's something, and I'll end it on this, that was really, really wild based on this Djokovic story. "59-year-old sports reporter Mike Dixon, who despised tennis star Djokovic for not getting vaccinated, suddenly dies while covering the Australian Open. Dixon, who constantly shamed Djokovic for not getting vaccinated, collapsed and died according to a statement. Quote, "We are devastated to announce that our wonderful husband and dad, Mike, has collapsed and died while in Melbourne for the Australian Open," the statement read. Quote, "Novak Djokovic could ruin his chances of becoming the GOAT by refusing to take the vaccine. It is a strange hill to die on for a player who is so desperate to be loved." It was one of the many anti-Djokovic headlines Dixon wrote. Let me read that again. "Novak Djokovic could ruin his chance of becoming the GOAT by refusing to take the vaccine. It is a strange hill to die on for a player who is so desperate to be loved." What an asshole. What an asshole you are to write that. Looks like a prick. Djokovic's hopes of surpassing Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal are in ruins. No, they're not even. Here's another reason why he's wrong. He is now based on wins, is the best player to ever live. The best player to ever pick up a fucking tennis racket is Novak Djokovic. You can hate him all you want. The Serbian has always had a desire to be loved despite his controversial nature. Who are you to say something like that? Who are you to say something like that about Novak Djokovic? And I guarantee you don't know him. Or didn't know him. But for you to criticize him in that manner, I have no sympathy for this guy at all. None. I have no sympathy if somebody got it and said, you know what, it's your choice if you want to get it or not. I respect your decision, but I'm going to get it. And everybody told us, Rachel Maddow told us what it was supposed to do. If that was the case, then if you had gotten it, then you had no worry. You didn't need to worry about somebody else getting it. But that wasn't the truth. We find out all of this stuff now. I mean, I don't feel, I can't feel any sympathy for people who are pushing it, who are saying, those who say, I think you should get it and I'm going to get it. But those are saying, like, if you don't, I'm going to fire you. If you don't, you can't travel. If you don't, you're not going to be able to play one of the biggest tennis tournaments in the world. And they were wrong. But you look at this guy, Mike Dixon. I mean, there are plenty of these people out there too. There's a lot of stories about people just like this guy, Mike Dixon, who were just outright shitting all over people. I mean, this guy is being not, I mean, he, in the grand scheme of what some other people were saying, but this is still, he was a terrible human being for saying that he's desperate to be liked, Novak Djokovic. That's just a horrible thing to say. And then this happens. So, and no, I don't believe in giving people a chance, the ones who are pushing it. Forgiving any, I do not believe at all giving amnesty. Somebody wrote an article, we should get amnesty because we didn't know. No. You don't get amnesty. You don't get amnesty. You don't get another chance. You wanted to do it, fine, but you pushing it on other people. Because if these people actually did die as a result of it, in any other world, it would be considered involuntary manslaughter at the very least. And I still believe we still have time to get through all this, because this is one of those things that is a once in a, I don't even think 100 year. This is more like 1,000 years for something like this to work itself through, for people to be held accountable. Yeah, I mean, you were told that you had to get it or be fired. I mean, I don't have sympathy for any of those people, for whatever happens to them. So I wanted to end it on that. Davos just finished up too. I'll probably just do some separate videos on that throughout the week. It looks like populism is is making a comeback, and it's starting to bother these globalists. I think they're starting to kind of come to the realization that that the World Economic Forum and all these globalists are not popular. I think they're starting to realize that now. So we hit the hour mark. Thank you. Let's see how many people we got going here. Kazan, of course, thank you. I appreciate you being here. Got a few on Rumble. Thank you. Although nobody chats on Rumble, I have no idea why. 35 in total on YouTube, so we're doing a little bit better. So thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the Sunday evening, and we will see you next weekend. Bye now.